Hello, everybody. How's it going? Sorry about that late start, real quickly. Streamlabs keeps breaking, and every time I go to stream, I'm fixing everything last minute, which is not cool. But, anyways, today, everything 3D is broken right now. Please fix it and make it work well with everything else. This is the bug we're going to be working on. I say bug, it's more like re implementing the feature. Lots has changed since I last did 3D, and so it's going to be a bit different tackling this. I've got a bunch of other issues here too. One of the next things I want to work on is potentially adding Unicode support or text formatting. I think text formatting sounds more fun. This is the near future, but basically allowing people to kind of say stuff like this is text, and then you can add hints in here, and this will all be formatted properly, so you can like color it blue, send italic text, do all sorts of stuff like this. Maybe I'll do a Markdown thing, but Markdown doesn't quite support this type of stuff, so not sure. But I've got it all specced out here a little bit more. So that's one thing on the Docker, and then another thing is better grouping for text objects and stuff. So basically, if you have some text objects, want it to be able to group stuff according to word levels in the scene hierarchy tree, and code blocks should similarly be grouped according to their blocks and everything, which will be nice, and we should be able to support that fairly easily. Anyways, that's just a little bit of a hint at what's coming up. Linux support is also something that I'm probably going to start working on again soon. But what are we working on? Well, we're working on this thing. So this is my math animation editor. I'll go over a list of some of the things that have changed since the last stream. So first of all, I have image support now, which you can see with this and this. This is a Minecraft sapling. So if I go and select the root object, you can actually see the image properties pop up here. And let me turn on my mouse highlighter so you can see where my mouse is. And you guys can see this because the video is not in the way. I'm going to move my video slightly lower and smaller just so that I'm not blocking anything there. But yeah. So we've got all this stuff. If I go and click on the image file path, you'll see we open up some images. And so let's go here to dev C++, or actually we'll go to Manum where I have some assets. So for instance, if we go and select an allium, you see we change the object here, and which is nice. And this does kind of like reference counting stuff. So you can also see if we pull this open, you'll see we cached the texture Acacia Sapling, which was the last one that we were viewing. And then we also cached Donald Knuth, which is the one on the right. That's to test JPEGs, which I did have some problems with, but fix those. And then you can see we unloaded the cached texture because that was the only reference for Acacia, and then we cached this texture instead, Allium. So it's kind of being a little bit clever and doing reference counting on all the textures and stuff so that doesn't load unnecessary changes and whatnot. So this is one thing. You'll see it just draws a square around it as it's loading it because that's kind of how this just works, unfortunately. If I wanted to like create an outline like I'm doing here, it would be pretty difficult because, yeah, I mean, I probably could, and maybe that's a future improvement at some point, but it gets really hard, especially when you have images that aren't pixelated but have transparency. Like, what do you count as the outline? So I'll save that for another day, if at all. But yeah, that's one thing. Another thing that I've added, if we go to the animation view, the camera background can now be changed. So if we go into here, we can go click the camera, change the background color. So you can kind of change that to whatever you want. Whenever you open up a new scene though, it does default to this green-brown color, which I believe is part of the Monokai theme. If I'm saying that right, I think I am, but I have no idea. And you can see I've got another scene in here where I was just testing some stuff. Just making sure that all this still works properly. So you can see we've got text for all this, still works good. And I believe this was in the last stream too, where we have like more hotkeys so we can move items around a lot easier, which is nice. Trying to think too. I think that's just about, I also changed, so the biggest change that I have is actually the way scenes are serialized and stuff. If we open up a scene, which I'll go over here, we'll pull VS Code over here. So if we open up a scene now, well, actually, if we take a look at all of this stuff, and it looks like we've got some bot spam showing up. And Streamlabs doesn't want me to delete it. Okay, I'll be right back while I get rid of that bot spam very quickly. Nope, can't get rid of it over here too. Well, that's annoying. Okay, just ignore the bot spam, I guess. Sorry about that. Essie Woods, how's it going? Good to see you. Hope you're having a good weekend as well. Just going over the new features in the editor. So one of the things that I did was before everything was stored in binary, which is just, it's impossible to debug. It's gross. You can't really tell what's going wrong when things are going wrong. So now we've got everything stored in JSON, which is nice because now if I have problems, I can debug save files and stuff much easier. It's all versioned. So, and this version looks wrong. Maybe that's not wrong. I don't know. I think it's a different version for this file versus the project files themselves. But basically, this kind of shows you what you can see here. If we go and select an actual project file, there's a lot more stuff in an actual project. So if we go into here and take one of the scenes, for example, you can see it's much bigger. And if we format that, we can kind of get a look at what's stored in here. And so you can see we've got our animation objects, which has like the fill colors. It has, you know, this is the camera. We can kind of go through, debug that stuff if we want. It's got the animations. So these are the different animations on the timeline. All that stuff, we can kind of collapse that. And then it's got other things like the editor camera. So where your editor settings are stored and everything, what you're doing with that stuff. And then timeline data. So basically the audio source file, current frame, all sorts of stuff. And then versions. And so this does upgrade from the old binary format seamlessly. So if you built a project in the old one and the old version of this app and then opened it with this new version, it should just upgrade, which is nice. That was the other big change that I went through, and that took a long time and was very tedious, and I don't like it, but glad it's done now. Real Hi Bye, hello, good to see you. How's it going? So yeah, that's kind of the biggest changes. I feel like there was something else I was going to mention too. I did change kind of this hierarchy thing. So before everything was just kind of dumped into one big menu, and that was annoying. But now you have like submenus, which kind of groups things together accordingly, which is nice. I want to do something similar down here for animations. Instead of having to drag stuff, I want it to be right click, and then you just select it, and it places it where the cursor is. It's all on the Docker. Eventually going to get there. We also have layouts, which I talked about in one of the other ones. If we go to the default layout, looks a little bit different. So kind of gives you more screen space so you can see what's going on. And then one last thing I fixed is before, if you had a selected object and you started to play animations, doing things like that would make it lag, and you can kind of still see it here. It does that weird jittering thing, and that's just because of some other things that I have to fix that I haven't gotten to look into yet. But it at least doesn't do it while you're playing, so that if you're trying to like edit something real time while it's playing, it's a little bit easier. So now I can go, it says sapling, that's allium flower now. But if I wanted to go and like change this a little bit, I could go, oh, change it to red. And you can see it's being kind of weird because that square border that draws around it is also getting set to red. So we just got to turn that down again. But yeah, you can like tint the image and stuff, and now we can do it real time. And if we were playing it or whatever, we can kind of see it and not have to worry about weird glitches as much. I'm going to fix this part too so that you can kind of see that better as well. But yeah, excuse me. Sorry, I'm going to take a drink of water real quick. Langors, how's it going? Good to see you. No time no see. Long time no see. Yes, all is good. I hope everything's good with you as well. And Essie Woods, how is it when you draw those lines around the boxes, textures? I just thought that would perhaps be a similar way of doing UI, like having text underlined, whatnot. So with those, it depends. With these ones, I don't know if this is the best method. I might change it too. Basically what I do is I generate the image itself, which is an image object, and it gets stored some way. And then I just generate a square with alpha 0, which you can see here. Because I already have it. Like, see, this square is just a square, right? And it's nice because when you draw it in, it automatically does this path thing. And so I figured easiest way to get this to work is just to add a square around these two. So basically what I do is I just draw or add a square object below it that draws in, and then as it draws in, the image fades in. So it's kind of a hack. It's not the best way. But the way that like the letters and stuff draw in, it's all doing the same thing. It just follows the SVG path. So any SVG path you have, you can kind of do this right in animation using the create, which is nice. So yeah. Anyways, what we're going to be working on today though, 3D. So if I were to go and say add a 3D shape, I want to add a cube. Let's do that. And I say I want to create it. Well, it's not going to work for a couple reasons. Did it even add it? Did it? Oh, it did. Okay, that's weird. It added it up here and shifted everything. Usually it adds it to the end. Okay, so that's interesting. I'll have to take, actually that might make sense. This is a set, so it's kind of weird. Anyways, the UI is kind of horrible in here. I need to clean up the UI a little bit more. And let me put something, let's go back to default. Or actually, sorry, we'll go to debug, and then I'm just gonna drag this debug window over here so that I know where my camera is. There we go. Okay, so you guys cannot see what's in here, so I'll make sure that you guys can see what's here. Anyways, so the cube, you'll see we added it, but nothing's happening. And if we open up, yeah, it's not going to say anything weird's happening either, because we kind of suppress all errors and everything that aren't critical. And right now, I guess cubes aren't critical. But anyways, let's debug this. Why is the cube not drawing in? There's a few different reasons. Let's close everything out for now. And let's go and just enter from the application and kind of trace the control flow of what happens as we render. So basically what happens as we render is we figure out what the delta time is. That's kind of important, all that stuff. But anyways, then we update our gizmos, update our editor camera controller, which you can see we're only updating the 2D camera right now. This is going to be interesting because we need a way to update 2D/3D camera. And I think we're probably going to make it so that it's just one camera, and then, well, it's probably going to be modes, right? You're either in 3D mode or 2D mode, kind of like Blender. Let's see if we open up Blender real quick, because there's a few things we're going to have to work on to get this to work right, and we're going to kind of take this piecemeal. If we open up Blender, right, if I hit 5 on the number pad, we go to orthographic mode. If I hit like 1, you can see it almost looks like a 2D view, but yeah, it almost looks like a 2D view. I think what we need to do is we just need to have a transformation matrix, which is like our editor camera, because that's all we really need. And then we'll kind of go from there. But yeah, if we go to 1 and then we hit 5, that takes us to perspective, orthographic. And you can see the view changes. But when you hit numpad 1, it kind of takes you. And we're going to need something like that. So we'll have one camera. Yeah, we'll have one camera. And I think that's how this is going to work. We'll see. So anyways, it says 2D. This is, we'll put a note here, or to do. Change this to 2D/3D camera. That changes. Actually, let's just change this to a matrix. Yeah, this is just gonna be a matrix, okay? Because that's all you really need is a matrix. And once we get that, we can kind of do everything behind the scenes and have it all work, I think. We'll see. We will see. Because everything changes. That's the hard part about this stuff. So, right, if we open up Blender one more time, everything changes. If I'm in orthographic mode, well, not even that. If I just go numpad 1, if I hit shift and hold down my mouse wheel and drag, it drags me up and down, right, left and right. If I release shift, now we're in perspective mode. You'll see it kind of changed us all of a sudden there. As soon as I do this, it changes us to perspective mode, just hitting the mouse wheel. And then when I drag, it rotates our camera. And what is it rotating around? It's rotating probably around the center of the screen. I can't quite tell. And so that's another thing. But if we hit shift and drag here, okay, if we hit shift, it just moves along the camera plane. So we can probably abstract this because that's the same 2D, 3D. You're just shifting along the camera's up axis and right axis normal plane. So like whatever that L would be, that's what you shift along. And then with no shift, you're doing 3D rotations no matter what. Okay, we can work with this. So yeah, but this will just take in a matrix is what we're going to do. And then it'll just kind of, well, okay, I don't know. We're going to have to, maybe not this part. We'll keep going through the stack real quick. CGO Clan, how's it going? Good to see you. Dang it, these ads. I'm sorry. I wish I could stop them because I would turn them off if I could, because I don't get anything from Twitch anyways, but I don't think there is a way. But SE Woods, easy. Yeah, very. Least gotten LWJGL integrated. Nice. GUI, LWJ GUI integrated. Nice. Good job. It's not easy updating or integrating some libraries. They are a pain, which is not fun. Okay, let's look at what happens after this though. Then we go into render. Render doesn't really render. This is a really poor function call name. This is not rendering anything. This is collecting render calls. Well, I guess it kind of works. So it's rendering, quote unquote, but it's going through and it calls the render functions. They don't immediately render though. This basically just collects draw calls. And then finally down here, this is where we actually submit those draw calls to the GPU. So then this kind of goes through, collects all the draw calls, and we say, hey, bind and update this viewport, and we bind to our mainframe buffer, and we say, then render this. And then we clear all the draw calls. And then, okay, yeah, and then we collect the draw calls again here, which is kind of inefficient. And I'm wondering if we need to do this. First of all, this might be an optimization real quick. If we take that out, then we go, that's render again. We don't need to do this again. Yeah, let's try this real quick. I think this should be equivalent, except now we're basically doubling our improvement because we just removed that redundant call. I had it that way for reasons before, but I don't think we need it that way anyways. Yeah, and it's still working fine. Yeah, this still all looks fine. And if we go in here, yeah, okay. And if we have both viewports open at the same time, yeah, that's still fine. And if we click that, that is all still fine. Okay, well, we just added a massive performance improvement, which is nice. So we'll go ahead and commit that just so that we know what we did. Forgot to remove that when I was doing some other stuff. We'll just add that. Commit, remove redundant render draw call collection. Okay, so we've got that there. L person. SE Woods, he's spot on, CGO Clan, congrats. Promoting some kind of money. W granted. Sorry, I'm reading through all these chats and I'm kind of getting lost here. Infinite Coder, how's it going? Good to see you. Okay, so anyways, basically, right, we go through this render thing collects all the draw calls, and then we go through here. We say render the active objects. So this is kind of our stencil outline pass, which you can kind of see here too. Well, it's a few things. Render editor viewport and active objects with outlines around them. Yeah, so then we basically say, okay, let's check if the viewport has anything. If it does, we do this. And you can see we're passing the 2D and 3D camera in there. And then we do this. This is, okay, so then we render the outlines. Okay, and then we draw the gizmos. And then we draw IMGUI stuff. Okay, so that's kind of how everything goes. Now, where does 3D stuff happen is my question. And this is, so we've got to think about if we want, so this is going to be interesting because for the editor, we want one camera. But for the output, we want two cameras. So for this is the editor camera, right? What I'm zooming in and stuff here. This with the white line here, this is the output camera, right? This is our camera, 2D camera. And it's important that we keep that in mind because I think we want a 2D camera and we want a 3D camera. Does this make sense? I think so. And the reason we want a 2D camera and we want a 3D camera, why we're separating them is because, okay, yeah, because say you want to have this hello world object, right? And you want this text. there were a lot of times when I was editing in Manum, which is what I'm basing this all off of, right? Where I'd want some text to be 2D, and I didn't want that in the 3D world space. I wanted that in the 2D world space. And then I wanted an additional, like imagine for a second that we were in Blender and I could like rotate out. Then I wanted a different camera that was in charge of the 3D stuff. And then basically what I wanted was the 3D here would render and then you'd composite that onto the 2D hello world. We can actually view this real quickly, just so I can kind of explain this a little bit better. If we go to here, whichever one was that last video that I did, this thing. Okay, yeah, so one of these says 3D scenes, yes. So if we take a look at this, we'll say yes to that. Okay, yeah, so you can kind of see this animation editor is in 2D space, but then we have a camera that's rotating around right now, and that camera is in 3D space looking at these objects. This is what I want. And so in order for that, we do need two cameras in the scene, which is kind of unfortunate, but that's just the way it is. And so I'm wondering if that means we just have two separate draw calls, how we're going to do this. Okay, let's just we'll step into this one thing at a time. So we collect draw calls here. Let's go take a look. Then we go editor viewport active. Okay, let's go to this first render to frame buffer thing right here. What are we doing here? First, we get the ortho camera. So we check if the scene has an orthographic camera, which is the 2D camera. If we don't, we skip this. Then for the perspective camera, I just create a dummy one that doesn't actually do anything. And I have a to-do in here. So I guess let's start with this. We need an add 3D camera. So I have camera 3D here, but it doesn't actually do anything. It just says to do implement me. And if we look at the 2D camera too, we have projection size, which controls kind of that. We have the zoom, which if we actually look in here, yeah, that controls like how zoomed in you are. And then we have this is 2D thing, but I'm going to change that clearly because well, I don't know. Maybe we can use the same camera construct. Maybe I'm thinking about this wrong too. I don't know. Let's go into animation.h, or actually I think I have a camera.h. No. If we go into here and look at camera object, so you can see I have not spent enough time thinking about this stuff. We have this, we have an ortho camera, we have vec4, is 2D, is active camera. Let's just add perspective camera. Okay, so we've got this. And we're probably gonna have to remove this is active camera because it really doesn't work properly, and I'll have to change it where you can only add one 2D camera and one 3D camera per scene, and then maybe you can do extra compositing stuff and everything later on, but that's a future thing. Essie Woods, I just watched Hazel video where he draws text into the 3D world where you can rotate around it. I think the text was in 2D still though. Yes, and that's what I do want to have that eventually. Well, I mean, not even eventually. Like the way I have this set up, we should be able to do that, but I still want there to be like a HUD camera, which is the 2D camera, and then a 3D camera, which shows 3D objects. And depending on if you have, I think I already have this implemented too for all objects, where if I click on it, oh, and this isn't going to be happy. Camera 3D unknown specifier. Let's do cancel. I need to add perspective camera up here. So let's do that very quickly. All right, so we've got that. And if we rebuild this, it's going to take a little bit. But I already do slightly have a way to do this, and we'll see in a second. And Balsa, any experience with competitive programming? I took a class in college, but it was more just like having fun. I mean, we did have like, it was competitions, but we didn't really go very far with that. So I would say no. compilations take longer and longer. Like, it's getting pretty bad here too. Gonna have to do some stuff to speed it up eventually. Okay, so if we click on the hello world object here, yeah, so I've got this checkbox, right, that says is 3D. Right now, if I click it, nothing happens, but this is what's gonna tell the renderer, hey, do this in the 3D space or do this in the 2D space. And then it should just use the 2D camera or the 3D camera, which we can see this is the 2D one because it says it's 2D. And that's basically how we're gonna do that. And so now that we've got this, yeah, now that we've got this, right? And I'm wondering if we don't even show the user that is 2D Boolean, if we just kind of hide that from them and then set it up automatically, which I do like. So let's do that first. Okay, we're gonna take this piece by piece and we'll just get going. So if we go into the inspector panel and we go down to our camera, handle camera object inspector. So if we go find that, okay. So we basically say if it's a 2D camera, then we show the projection size and the zoom. And then let's actually not even show this checkbox, okay? And I don't think we want to show this is active camera checkbox either. I think we want to set this up automatically. I don't think we even need this, honestly. Let's do that. Let's fix that very quickly. So this is active camera was because originally I was planning on having multiple cameras possible, all sorts of stuff, but I don't think that's what we're gonna do. But we will say as camera, I guess, okay, actually let's just do else I am GUI text. This is a 3D camera. Okay, so we'll do that. Whoops, that's not what I meant to do. We'll do that, right? We've got, this is 3D camera, 2D camera. We can tell now at least. And then let's go in and when we create stuff, we do that in the scene hierarchy panel. So let's go into here, right click pop up. Okay, so let's go down there. When we create stuff, right? Okay, so we say create and add a camera. And this is where we do that. And we're gonna do some extra stuff. So let's actually not call that helper function, which is nice, but I'm gonna actually not call it and we're just gonna inline this stuff manually so we can control it a little bit better. So we'll say anim object.as.camera.is 2D equals true. So we got that. And then here, we'll do the same thing, except we'll say false. All right, so the user doesn't know that we're using the same type under the hood, which is fine. They don't need to know because it doesn't matter. But we know, and this is how we'll save it. Okay, so we've got that, right? Now we have a way to create them. We're also gonna have to go fix some stuff in here because since I removed that field, we're gonna have some errors pop up, which we can see in this right sidebar. So we no longer have is active camera, which is fine. Get rid of that. We have an error somewhere up here too, it looks like. Maybe. Maybe not. I can't tell what the red. Visual Studio changed these highlights over here, and it's very annoying. You can't really tell what's happening as much. Okay, so when we create a default camera, it sets it to 2D automatically, which is nice. Don't really care about that though. I think there's an error up here though. Oh yeah, okay, so it's this one. Okay, we'll get rid of that. I also added these helpers too. So these are a bunch of macros that just expand and do some stuff that I was doing manually, and it makes serialization and deserialization so much nicer. Much easier to serialize lots of objects and stuff now. And it is type safe and everything. So like for instance, if I tried to, it's type safe to a point, but if I tried to do this with like is 2D, we're gonna get an error because this isn't an object. So yeah, it's kind of nice. Anyways, that's besides the point though. To do deprecate me, this is just like legacy stuff that's used for upgrading old projects, but we don't care about that. And then we will go down here. Okay. So this is when we reset object states and the camera is always active. is what we'll say. Okay, cool. So we've got all this, right? And last thing we want to do, if they try and add a camera and we already have a 2D camera, we're going to pop up an error message. For now, I'm not going to do that, but we will go in here. We'll say if animation manager get object. Well, actually, we can do this. Get active ortho camera. Okay. So if this is not null, which is this is going to check, then we basically just want to tell the user, you can't do this. So we'll do this. Else, we'll do that. And we'll say glogger error, already an active camera in the scene, cannot add another. Okay, so we'll do that. We'll eventually propagate that error to the user through the UI, but for now this is fine. Same thing here, except for 3D stuff. Oh, and thank you for following. I'm Angie. I think I read that. Yeah, I'm Angie. Thanks for following. Good to see you. So we'll say 3D camera here. Okay, so basically we're going to check and see, and this is going to ask for perspective camera. Okay, and if we look in this, this is just literally a loop. It's not even, actually, I guess it's not a loop. I did do this a little bit smarter. So we actually store the active camera, which is nice. And we set the active camera, which is also kind of nice. Okay, and so for this one, yeah. Okay. So we're gonna have to change a few things now too. So inside of our animation data here, we've got starting active camera and active camera. And we should probably also have starting active camera 3D and active camera 3D. Okay, so we got 2D and 3D cameras. When we create this, we're gonna say, similarly to this, active camera equals null anim object, and res starting active camera 3D equals null anim object, active camera 3D equals null anim object. Okay, so we're gonna initialize these to null objects, which is good. And you can see I was saying like we should initialize some cameras. We really don't have to do this anymore because I have some other stuff that helps set all this up manually for you on a new scene creation. So that's fine. We're going to remove that. Okay, so anyways, we've got this, right? And one last thing, I just want to make sure that's all good. Okay. Let's keep going through this, okay? So this is the animation manager. This kind of controls everything. This is the brain of the whole thing, and it's very complicated. I need to fix a lot of it, but it works for now. So here we say reset state if we need to. This is animation keyframes. This is adding an object. I'm wondering, we could do something here, like if the object's type equals camera, we could check if it's a 2D or a 3D camera, and then if it is, like set it as the active camera, but I don't like doing that in here because it's kind of weird. This is just supposed to add an object, and I don't want to add that, so we're not going to do that. But, well, then again, when we remove objects, we kind of need to, well, I don't know. I don't know what the best place to do that is. Yeah, let's do it here. Okay, it's kind of gross, but we'll put it to do. So if the camera, or if the type is a anim object type v1 camera, right? If the object as a camera is 2D, then we'll say am active camera equals object.id. Okay. Otherwise, am starting active camera 3D equals object.id. And since, I'm going to change this one more time, since we no longer actually have the ability to have multiple cameras, we're going to get rid of the starting. We're just going to have active. Because there's not really any such thing as a starting camera or an active camera. Maybe if we add that in the future, then I'll re-add those and we can make it work and stuff. But we'll do this. This is active. This is also active. Okay, so that's all good. We'll have to fix a few other things. Oh, we also want when we're removing it to check too, though, very quickly. So when we remove an object, we will say, and this cues it so that we don't break things. Ooh, okay, we might actually want to do this in a different place when we actually remove the object, because this is just the ID. Well, actually, no, we can't check that. So if the anim object equals AM starting camera or active camera, then we'll fix it here. We'll say AM active camera equals null. And then we'll say if anim obj equals 3D equals null. Okay, I guess we can do an else if there. It doesn't really matter too much, but we'll do that. So yeah, basically we just do the same thing here. So now when you add it, it automatically detects it, sets it up properly. Same thing when you remove it. Let's keep going through this. Okay, so we've got a bunch of other stuff. This is the render function. So this collects the draw calls. And actually, do we have... No, that's not going to be in here. Okay, I was going to see if we had any camera stuff in there, but that makes sense that we don't, because that's just collecting draw calls and not actually drawing stuff. So that's that. That's that. Okay, here we go. We might actually not need the set active anymore. So let's get rid of those. Which is nice, because we prefer not to let people set stuff if we can. It makes it easier to reason about state and everything if there's less ways that people can affect global state. So we'll get rid of this set, and then we will add a const anim object star get active perspective camera const animation manager data star am. And this is an opaque pointer, which means nobody can actually see inside this. So even though you have the pointer to the animation manager data, you can't go in there and just change stuff, which is kind of nice. So anyways, we will just remove this, which is nice. And we'll copy this. And we will say, get the perspective camera. And this will just return active camera 3D, right? And so basically this will return a null pointer if it's null. Which we can see here. If it's null, just return null pointer. I need to also remove all these asserts because they're pretty useless, but that's a different thing. SE Woods, is OneDrive something the people here normally use? I do not use it personally. I don't like having stuff in the cloud. I don't know. I prefer to have stuff manually if I can. This is also annoying. I think there was a formatting error at some point, and I like my pointers left aligned, not right aligned, which is quite annoying. So we'll fix that as we go through. Anyways, so we've got this stuff, right? Okay, we got that. We've got this. Okay, here we go. So this is where we actually need this stuff. So let's actually rename this to active camera. And this is going to write out the active camera. Same thing with 3D. 3D. And this will actually write out null pointer. So if the camera is null, it just writes out null to the JSON, which is kind of nice. We'll see that in a minute when we make sure this stuff is all working. For now, we're going to leave this, the deserialize the same until we upgrade our projects, and then we'll fix them in a second. Okay, so we've got this. Oh, okay, so then we just need to change this to A. Oh, okay, we can just change that. That should be fine. So that's for legacy stuff, deserializing. Okay, and I think we're almost good. This is the last place. Yes. Okay. So what we'll do is we'll say that looks like that. But we're going to have to change this. So I'm going to duplicate that line. And we're going to change this to this. Which honestly, yeah, we could just do like if is null kind of thing. I don't like changing the names and adding this kind of stuff because it's hacky and gross, but we'll do this. 3D equals read ID from JSON, J active camera 3D. Okay. And then I'll put a note in here. Note, this is for legacy projects. Would be better to bump the serialized file version, but that's too much work. So we're not gonna do it. And this hack works fine. Okay, so we've got a note in there so that we know why we have this twice, but it should just work out. So if we run this, I believe we should be fine. And now we have a way to like add 2D and 3D cameras. We'll make sure it's all working properly. And then we will go from there. And SE Woods, I haven't used it either, but ended up using it today because you were doing some updates on 2 separate computers. See, that is when it is nice. Yeah, to sync them. Ended up wrestling with it all morning, then uninstalling it again. It's typical Microsoft too, though, unfortunately. So it looks like we're going to have to change some stuff up. We've got a few warnings. Okay, this needs to be, and a few errors. What was this one? That's unused, and so that's telling me, oh, you're not using that, and warnings get mad. So if I just delete the variable name, it gets happy. But anyways, yeah. So we've got that. That's fine now. All right. So now if we rerun this, we should be good. Okay, those compiled fine. We can kind of see the compilation status down here a little bit. Okay, cool. So if I open up the project, it should still work. Yeah, you can see we've still got our camera. That's working fine. If we go back into here, you don't actually see anything. It's just implicitly a 2D camera. And then now let's just check this out real quickly. So let's close that. If I go into here, we are in test project, scenes, and I think this is scene 1. If we go into here and we look for camera, we want to go down a little bit more though. Okay, yeah, so you can see it says starting active camera right now, and then it says 0, which is this camera. But if we go ahead and save this, so I've saved it now, Control S, you can see this is out of date now, so we'll close it and reopen it. Format it. Okay, here we go. Cool. And now you can see it just says active camera. And then since we don't have an active camera, it just automatically writes it out as null. Cool, so that's working. And if we were to reload this scene, it should still work. So if we go open this scene, and then go back. Okay, we've still got our 2D camera. It still works. Sweet. No errors. We're all good. And now, okay, this is the key part. So now if I try and add another 2D camera, we don't get it added, and then we get an error up here that says cannot add it because we already have one. If I try and add, though, a 3D camera, it does add it, no errors. And if we say there, we get the text, this is a 3D camera. Okay, cool. So this is working pretty good. I'm happy with it. Yeah. Let's just, I don't actually serialize this stuff yet, so this isn't actually going to save it properly, but I'm doing it because it makes me feel better. Like if we go there and back, it's down here again, which is sad. I can save it, but I just haven't added it yet, and I should, so, because that's nice to have. Okay, so that's pretty cool. I'm happy with that. Now we can move on to the next part, which is the inspector. So let's do that. First of all, let's just go and commit this stuff. So what did we change? We changed And we said, get rid of starting active cameras. There's only one 2D, 3D camera per scene now. Also add 3D camera and update serialization. Okay, we will push that very quickly. And this is all going to a different branch, so it's all just going to get squashed once we merge it into master, which is nice. SE Woods, going to stick to an external hard drive. Yes, that is also pretty easy. And SE Woods, do we have any new YouTube videos in the queue, Gabe? That's partly why we're doing this, is so that I can finally move on and start making videos again. One of the big things that I wanted to add was images, which we now have, right? We've got images, which is nice. But now we need the 3D cameras to work so that I can actually make videos about Minecraft stuff, which is what I ultimately want to do. So someday we'll get there. We have the 3D camera now, though, so that's a start, right? What does a 3D camera have? Let's check. So 3D cameras have an FOV, an orientation, a position. And the orientation is Euler angles, so we're not doing anything fancy there, but we're going to have to change that to a quaternion once we add editor cameras because it's just easy. And then we also have a forward vector. Realistically, I think you only modify FOV, orientation, and position. Everything else is opaque. So we'll say I'm GUI, drag float for FOV. We'll give it that. We will say the minimum is, I'm going to do 1. I don't know what that looks like, but yeah. And we'll go up to 180. So minimum, maximum, and I didn't even write it, but this is the field of view. Maybe I should actually write it out. There we go. So you got FOV. We have position. So drag float 3. And this will be that's interesting. I'm looking at the code above this. We can just pass it the address of X. Yeah, that should work. This looks sketch, and I don't think this is quite right. So, because this, no, that's a float. Okay. Yeah, it's weird that yeah, okay. I didn't need that float star. Okay. I thought I was doing some weird casting there, which would have been bad. Anyways, that should be fine. And then we want a drag float 3, rotation, Euler angles, and we will do camera 3D, orientation dot X. Okay, so that should be good. Okay, cool. So now we can modify these. We'll use that to kind of test stuff. If we open this up, let's just make sure it all saves properly. I think it should, but just want to make sure. So we'll change it to some random stuff and then kind of test it. So click 3D camera. We've got our camera properties here. We can see FOV is 0. Let's change that to 75. And we'll do 90 degrees here. And if we just switch scenes, go back, check the camera. I did not save it. Okay, so we got to add serialization there. And we can see no anim object with ID 0 exists. That's interesting. I wonder if our 3D camera is broken. Wait a second. Okay. So, because it didn't save anything and it showed that weird message. Okay, no, we've got active camera 3D is 3588. That looks right. Let's also just do format and let's look for object ID, or I think it might just be ID 3588. Okay, so it's saving the camera 2D stuff, which we don't care about. We just want the camera 3D stuff. Okay, so I think we just need to go and fix that serialization method. So if we go into animation, camera object, serialize. There we go. And if we just do this, camera 3D. Okay, there we go. Now we should be good. And then we'll do the same thing here, except this is 3D and perspective camera. And let's actually just do this too. So instead of doing this, we'll say if is 2D, else, right? That should be fine. And then up here, we'll just deserialize this first. We'll say if is 2D, else, and we should be good. And we should say if res is 2D. Okay, cool. So let's try that out. Make sure it saves properly, which it should have in the first place, but didn't add that. So of course it couldn't save. So we'll open this up. So we got our 3D camera. Let's set this to 75. 75. Set this to 90. And also, wait a second. I thought I saw a gizmo, which was interesting. Maybe I didn't. I don't know. Okay, let's go there and back. 3D camera. 75 and 90. Okay, so now we're saving stuff. That's good. Let's just also... We're still getting this. I might want to check that because that feels bad. Let's go into here though. Yeah, let's go active camera. 3D is 3588. Again, so it's the same thing, but we're not finding that now. Interesting. Okay, now we're finding it. Okay, that was just like Control F failing. Okay, cool. So we got 3D camera as camera 3D. Okay, cool. And we're not saving the 2D stuff because we're 2D camera now. And then if we look for ID 0, that's a 2D camera. So we do have a ID 0 thing, which is good. And we are saving that as a 2D camera, which is also good. We might want to look into what's happening here, though. This is coming from line 195. An inspector panel. Cool. So line 195, let's go down there. Okay, interesting. So it's saying it can't find it. And I wonder if this is... I think that only happens once. Does it? If we click that, okay, no errors. If we click that, oh, you know what it is. So I have this selected, and then let's say I change scenes. That's what it is. Okay, so when you change scenes, I need to just clear the active selected object. It doesn't really kill anything, but it just produces an unnecessary error. So yeah, so that's perfectly fine. Cool. Okay, so we've got everything saving. That's good. That's second step. Let's go ahead and commit that. So status, add commit, and we'll say serialize 3D cameras properly. Okay, cool. Next step, we actually want to render that cube. So we'll see. And SEWoods, you don't use JSON anymore. JSON only works with Java, so it's a format for converting Java objects to JSON. So unfortunately, can't use it in C++. Otherwise, trust me, I would, because this is annoying. But serializing this stuff is not as fun, but it's not too bad. It's not too terrible. Let's go to our render, and actually not our renderer. Let's go to Animation Manager, CPP. And let's go to our render to frame buffer. No. Okay, maybe it is in render. Frame buffer. Okay, it is in here. Cool. So we've got perspective camera here. And instead of doing this, let's do this. So we'll do copy that, paste it up here. Okay. And then we'll say const anim object star perspective camera object equals get active perspective camera. If this, okay, let's change this up a little bit too. And we'll say if not ortho camera OBJ and not perspective camera OBJ. So if no cameras exist, we don't do anything, and we'll like implement this to do eventually so that the user knows what's happening. Otherwise, we'll say if perspective camera OBJ, we'll just copy it to that object there. And let's just add that bracket. We'll say equals star, or actually I don't have to do that, perspective camera OBJ as camera 3D. Okay, and that's not what I wanted to do. We'll just copy this because I misspelled it. Okay, so there we go. We've got that now. Why is this not happy? Potentially null. Let's also do this then. We'll say const vec4 fill color equals vec4. And I think we can reassign a const reference, so we should be fine, possibly. Fill color equals ortho camera obj as dot camera dot fill color. Actually, why am I doing that? We don't need to do this. We can just say ortho camera obj dot fill color. Okay. No, not ortho camera obj, just ortho camera. Fill color? Clear color? Wait, okay, maybe we can't do that. Never mind. Ah, okay, so it's like because we're doing it as a camera. Okay, so yeah, we'll do this then. We'll say fill color equals ortho camera obj as camera fill color. Okay. Yeah, and we can't reassign that. So instead of doing this, I'll just copy it. It really doesn't matter. It's not that big. So fill color. Okay, so now we should be good. That is not null. There's no way it can be null. Yeah, okay, cool. Visual Studio now updated. So now we've got that. And then we go into here. Whoops, into here. Render to frame buffer. What does he do? So then he goes and he does all the render calls. First, we reset the draw buffers. Then we do all the draw calls. So we draw the 3D lines, then we draw our font stuff, but this really doesn't get used, and I may reduce some of this stuff because a lot of it is redundant right now. Then we draw 3D stuff using the perspective camera. Then we draw buffers, or we reset our draw buffers, and then we draw 2D stuff. So the 2D stuff goes over the 3D stuff. Okay. Let's see what happens, because I'm not quite sure what's actually going to happen. And SC Woods, JSON is super useful when you want to focus on other stuff. I agree for sure. Yeah. When you are the sole user of a GitHub repository, do I push directly to master branch? I typically don't even do it then, just because it's a lot nicer to be able to go to your repository, right? And so at the beginning I do. So at the beginning of a project, I don't care as much, and you can really see that if you go back in time to like, I think like down to here. So right here is where I would just like add stuff to master. But then once it got more stable, it's a lot easier because now if I want to see like this is order independent transparency. And if I click onto here, it kind of tells me exactly what commits were in here. So this is like a gist of basically what happened in this specific one. And you can see I began adding support. And then if I click here, we can actually go to the pull request too. And so we can see the branch, and then I can go into here and see individual commits, which is nice. So it kind of groups stuff together very nice. And it's especially nice because when you get to newer stuff, it's really easy to see where I fixed a bug or something, right? So if I go here we go, fix bug, pop, push, mismatch for begin list box. If I click into here, I can see exactly what I changed here, which this is a really small commit, but it's really nice because I know exactly what went into this. If it's a more complex bug, like say fixing the LRU cache, this one was pretty complex. And it looks like I only had one commit, so just one big commit, but I can go in here, see everything that went specifically into this. And then if I wanted to, I can also go to the pull request that did this and then see more details, right? Which is just this. Oh no, I had several commits here. And then I can go into like the individual commits. So there's niceties to doing it kind of branch and then merging. And also this way master stays stable. So I don't push breaking changes to master. Right now, if I pushed what I'm working on, it would probably break a bunch of stuff because there's things that just aren't working properly. So yeah, there's lots of benefits to branch-based pull requests and everything. What were we doing? I think I just wanted to see what happened, but I don't think anything's happening. So yes, I don't see anything, and I shouldn't see anything, which kind of makes sense because it would be here. Yeah, I think this is where we would see stuff. And as you would, so you push to a different branch, then create a pull request. Yep. Putting in comments and stuff. Yes. And then makes you feel like you have lots of friends as well. I guess so. That's true. So we've got the 3D infrastructure stuff set up. Let's go into Cube now. Okay, so this is shapes.cpp because we have to fix this now. If we go to Cube init, I have a bunch of stuff commented out because we changed some things. So this is what I used to do, but this is going to change now. Essentially what a cube is, right? It's 6 squares. So what I want to do is we have this half length, okay? And I want to create 6 square objects for each face of the cube, shift them from the center of the cube, and that's basically it. Maybe I should have kept some of that because I think some of that was actually pretty useful. Okay. Yeah, so these are the offsets. These are the rotations. And this is what we want to do. This is actually all very useful, so we'll use this. Okay, so what we'll say, oh yeah, this is very useful. Instead of doing this, we're going to say create default from parent. And we're going to say create a square. And we're going to give it ourself. Which is an anim object star, which is a little bit different. Is it? No, that's the same. Okay. We just need to give us self object type. No, I want to give it our ID, I think. Yeah, we want an ID here. Why is IntelliSense not picking that up though? That's kind of weird. Oh, do I have this backwards? Oh, no, I'm just missing a parameter. Okay, we also need that. Okay. So we'll need to update this stuff a little bit. Let's go. We will do that. Star am. Let's go into here. Fix this as well for cube. So this needs that. And let's just add it down here as well because that's going to need it too. Okay, so Do I not have it? I don't. Okay, we just need to forward declare that as well. Okay, now we're good. No errors. Okay, cool. So we create a new object from ourselves. Right, so now this object is a child of this guy. We don't need to do this. Don't need to do this. Let's do cube face.as.square dot side length equals our side length. Yes. Okay. So that's good. Yes. And then let's also go real quickly. I want to see animation CPP image object init because we're doing something kind of similar to here, right? Okay. Yeah. So we basically did this. Set name and then square re-init. Okay, so we're going to do something kind of similar. So now instead of having to do this, we can just get rid of all this stuff. And we will say, okay, yeah, so cool. I can say like position start, which is offsets I, which we don't need to do this. Scale start, we don't need to do this. Fill color, I'm not even going to bother. Okay, and then this will be, we'll just like do something like face, and then we'll say plus stood to string I, and then we will do that as C string, which is what we need. So do that. So like face 0, 1, 2, 3, whatever, right? And this is cube. And then we want to reinitialize it. Excuse me, sorry. Okay, we want to reinitialize it with square child. So that would be the cube face. Okay. Sorry, excuse me, man. Okay, and then we want to make sure it's 3D. Yeah, and I think that's basically it. Do we have a... Oh, and we also want to add this as generated. Yes. Yeah, we want to add that as a generated child too. Let me just double check that as well. So if we go back into here. Yeah, okay. Because this is a generated, so this makes sure that like when you regenerate it, it removes the old one and fixes that. Okay, so that's all we need to do here. I think we're missing something though. I think we used rotation somewhere in there too, but we're not using it here. Yeah, okay, so we also need to set rotation, which I missed. So let's go grab that. And we will say... Oh, I completely missed it. I must have deleted them because there was a couple of things. So we want rotation start and we want position start. I guess I just like deleted those, which is nice. Offsets I. Okay, so we got all those. Nice. And that should be good. Now for reinitializing, we want to do something similar to what we're doing for our camera object. I mean image object. This is... Okay, so we want to do something like this. There's a lot of things that use this and I've copied pasted way too many times. So I will put it to do here and that's probably gonna be another thing and I'm gonna add an issue as well. Let's go get rid of that. Okay. To do this stuff is duplicated everywhere. Create a common function helper for it. Yeah, because I've got stuff like this everywhere. It's very not good. And I should not be copying it everywhere, which is not nice. We also want to say manager data star am. And we also want to go up here and include that. Okay, go back down. Cool. And this is going to be self. So then when we reinitialize it, we basically do all this stuff and we also want that. So include editor panels scene hierarchy. Okay, we got that. That should be self. And then we want to clear all our generated children, and then we don't need to worry about this, so get rid of that. We don't need to be worrying about this either. Get rid of that. And then we do that. Oh, and then we just need to pass self there. Okay, cool. So, yeah, let's do that. I'm also going to create a GitHub issue real quickly because I will remember it better if it's here. So let's go here. Fix. There's duplication when reinitializing complex objects. Go to shapes.cpp line. Whoops. Let's go find what line that was. 311. To see a to-do message. Basically, that code is duplicated everywhere and should be a function. Okay. And then I'm just going to label this a bug. Technically, it's an enhancement, but yeah. Cool. So we got that documented. Good. Let's keep going. I'm trying to get better about this stuff too, because it's a lot easier to keep track of work when you're actually tracking work, you know? Never would have thought of that, right? Okay, anyway, so we've got this. If we go back to the inspector panel now, we're probably gonna have to change some stuff. Sorry, my nose, my allergies are killing me, and so I'm trying not to like sniffle into the camera or the mic because that's not fun for anybody. Okay, so we can get rid of this, and we're gonna say AM plus that, and then we're gonna say animation manager data star AM, and then let's go and find this. Go here. Okay, and then we will find the next instance and pass it through. And we're good. Okay, so now this should actually generate it. I don't know if we're gonna see it pop up yet. I think we might, but I have no idea. So we'll see. We've already got some errors, so let's go ahead, cancel this. This does not take one argument, so we also need to fix it here. Interesting. Okay, so actually now instead of doing this, we're just gonna let it serialize because it has children now, children objects that will get serialized automatically. So we don't have to worry about that. But here, same thing. And here as well. And we can see, just make sure. Yeah, so the image object does the same thing because the children get deserialized automatically and we don't have to worry about that. Cool. Okay, let's see what happens. I'm hoping we'll have a 3D cube that just pops up as soon as we change some properties. But I'm betting what will happen is we'll get a seg fault somewhere because I did not think of all the edge cases, and then I'll have to fix that. And then we'll get a 3D object that shows up somewhere. But either way, we're closer. The hardest part is going to be doing like spheres and stuff because I have no idea. But luckily for me, Minecraft doesn't have spheres, so we don't have to worry about that for a long time. Okay, so I did 2.08. No errors. But we don't see anything either. Wait, actually we would see it here. Don't see anything here either. Okay, let's see what's happening. We will trace. So let's go into re-init, see what happens here. So when I change this, we jump into here and we're in release mode. So this might do some weird stuff. Like jump up before we jump down, which is very interesting. Don't know why it's jumping so weird. Okay, and then it just skips this entirely. Okay, let's go into debug because that way we can, whoops, I didn't mean to just click that again. That way we can actually trace what's happening. Let's go here, debug, and then we will restart this. I try not to do debug as much anymore because unfortunately It's gotten kind of slow. It's still, you can interact with it and everything, but it's just a lot slower than release mode, which is annoying when you're trying to just do stuff a little bit quicker. But yep, we will wait for it to compile now, and then we'll continue. At least we didn't get a seg fault though, which is good. Better than what could have happened. Okay, so go here. Oh, and another interesting thing, we didn't generate any children. So why are we not generating children? If we, edits were made which cannot be compiled. I didn't edit anything though. Okay, let's try this again. Visual Studio being weird. Try this again. Okay, cube. We change it. I jump here. Okay, cool. So now it's happy. We jump into here. Half length, offsets, rotations. Okay, we do this. Oh, I'm an idiot. We never add it to the scene. That would be helpful. Yeah, so if we go into image object, init. Yeah, you kind of have to do this part too. See, this is why I need to abstract the stuff into functions, because completely forgot about this part. We want to add cube face. And same thing here. Okay, let's try this again, see what happens. This is why you debug, because most of the time it's dumb stuff like that. Okay, 2.01. So we jump down to here. Also gonna get rid of that. Jump into here, and we go through here, we add it, that's all good. Cool, let's actually just continue because I'm curious to see. So we get 6 faces added, which is good. And if we click into here, we can see this is 3D. We're still not seeing anything though. And I wonder if that's because of our 3D camera. Okay, we're not seeing anything still. Oh, and this is also interesting. It's changing this, which it should not be. We'll have to fix that. It's because of some IMGUI stuff, which is kind of annoying, but we can fix that too. Wait, no, I didn't mean to get out of there, but we'll go back in a second. Let's go to our renderer. What I'm curious to see is if we are hitting 3D rendering functions. We should theoretically be hitting it, but I'm not sure if we're actually going into there. So do we have 3D draw calls is what I'm wondering. Okay, yeah, so we are getting vertices here. So that's interesting. What does our camera look like? Okay, so our camera's forward vector is just 0, 0, 0. So that makes sense. We never initialize that camera. And if we never initialize it, then we don't get a proper matrix. But when we calculate the projection, does it fix that? No, so that's fine. Yeah, that's fine. What about the view matrix? Okay, yeah, so we don't even use that forward vector. Yeah, well, we do. Okay, so we set it here. Okay, so wait, let's just redo this again. See what the forward vector is, because it should be something valid, but I don't know if it is. Jump into here. Go down. Okay, and then we want to step into here. And I always forget, step into specific, this one. Okay. So let's see what our forward vector is. Okay, yeah, so we do get a forward vector, and we're looking in the positive X direction, so that's good. So if we look at our right and our up, make sure those are correct too. So then our right vector is the positive Z direction, up should be positive Y, which it is. Cool, so that's all correct. So that matrix is fine. Then we go through here, check if it's transparent, which it's apparently not. We bind the buffer, get the draw data, buffer it, okay. Okay, so next step is gonna be render doc, because it looks like we're actually getting the data, which is good. We're just not seeing it here. And I'm not sure if that's, whoops, that's the wrong one. If that's just because we're not looking at it. It doesn't look like it because we didn't see it show up there when I rotated it. The camera. Yeah, I don't think it's showing up here. Okay, so let's open up RenderDoc now and see what we get. Okay, sorry. There we go. So let's go ahead, open up. We want debug. And let's set our working directory to the root. And we'll hit launch. And that's not good. Immediately, the world and hello world disappeared. Oh, wait. And also, why is this black now, too? That's interesting. Okay, so a few strange things, but we'll take a look at those later. Don't know why that happened when we opened up RenderDoc. So if we go... Okay, so we are getting a 3D pass. We can see this 3D OIT pass. And we are drawing stuff, too. Interesting. Okay, so we are drawing things. Just looks like we're never really drawing it correctly or something. I don't know. Let's see the pipeline. If we look at the mesh viewer, actually, that's what I wanted. Okay, yeah, so look at this. So we are getting, and I've just completely ruined the view and stuff. But yeah, we are getting 6 faces here. You can kind of see that, right? They're not positioned correctly, but they are there. We've got 1, 2, 3, 4. Oh, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, I think is what's going on there. Yeah, and these are just like rotated slightly off and stuff, but that's correct. And then if we look at the texture viewer, you can see it's just barely visible in the camera up here. And it looks like the problem is we're just not... Wait, let's see. We're just not drawing it properly or something? I don't know. So we clear buffers after that, and then we do a GL draw array 6 here. Oh, that's the compositing pass. Okay, so this is the compositing pass, which we should see stuff. So basically, let's take a look. The way the 3D rendering works, since we have order-independent transparency, is a bit weird. But basically what we do is we have an opaque pass. This draws opaque objects, outputs some data into some textures, which we can see here. This is the opaque pass. This is the opaque texture. Right, and we can kind of see that here too. This is the 0 and 3, object ID and frag color, which verify this looks correct. If we click this, we see the ID is 1853, whereas this one is a very big number because it's null. Okay, so that looks correct. Yeah, and then that one was 2000. If we click this one, that's like 2362. Cool, so that's fine. And then this is the opaque pass. So this is actually drawing, like you can kind of see the square. Those are the planes, and there's no shading, which is why it looks a little bit weird. But anyways, we do that. Then we do our transparent pass, which we should see nothing. If we go back here. Well, we should see nothing additional because we're not, well, actually we are drawing stuff here. Wait a second. If we take a look at this, transparent shader, we have output 1, 2, and 3. 1, 2, and... Oh no, I don't know. I don't think we're doing anything here. I think this is actually, I'm looking at this wrong. This is actually the composite pass because we don't have transparent objects. So I think we go straight to here. Is that correct? That would seem to make sense. But then we clear it. And I think this clear buffer is what's the problem. We'll have to go see why we're clearing it and see if that's supposed to be happening. But then we have a composite pass, which... No, okay, so it looks like we do use both of them. One easy way to see if this is or is not working. We'll do this. 1, 0, 0, 1. Okay, let's just do that. Launch it again. Okay, so we're definitely drawing stuff like, well, possibly. We're definitely drawing 3D stuff, I guess, is the thing. We're using that shader. If we go to here, so we do that, we do that. Okay, so this is not the composite pass because otherwise everything would turn red. This is the composite pass and everything turns red there. Okay, so now we know what's happening here at least. So this is opaque pass, this is transparent pass, this is composite pass, and something's broken in the composite pass. And what exactly is broken? I wonder if it's not this thing. We're not discarding anything. I wonder what happens if we just do the average color and hard code that transparency to 1. Let's try this now. See what happens. This is why I don't like messing with order independent transparency, because it's always difficult and there's a bunch of problems. X-Raiden X06, how's it going? Good to see you. What is this project about? It's about making an animation editor. So this is the editor. You basically make animations in it. You can add different objects. It's kind of broken in some places. And 3D objects are broken right now. So trying to figure out why the 3D objects aren't working, or I guess we're just adding them back in is what's happening. So let's see if we go back to here and we look at the outputs. Now the outputs are black, which is even worse. Interesting. Okay. Oh, cool. I didn't even know we had this too. This is interesting because it tells us kind of how long each pass takes. I think. I don't know. Nice. Anyways, though, what is going on here? Let's go into here. So when we draw 3D stuff, we do this. We first render opaque objects. And this shouldn't matter. Don't think so. I'm going to leave that though, just in case. Then we go through the draw commands. We draw everything. Right? Okay, yeah. So this is doing the opaque shader. We draw everything and we upload the transparent shader. Texture. What is that? Oh, that's just binding texture IDs. Okay, so then we bind textures if it's using a texture. We draw. That's fine. Oh, why are we doing frame buffer bind down here? That's interesting. I feel like this should be done first, because we're drawing up here. Yeah, okay, this is interesting. Well, okay, it says set up transparent draw buffers. The composite shader should be drawing into 0. Yeah, I feel like this is misplaced. But I could be wrong on that, and I don't want to mess it up. Wait a second. Okay, then we do this. Set up GL state for transparent pass. Okay, then it's doing transparent shader stuff here. And then we do a composite pass. But once again, we're not resetting these draw buffers, which kind of concerns me. This feels wrong. Okay, let's see what happens right before we do this render. 3D.render. Okay, so this is what happens right beforehand. Yeah, okay. Then once we jump into here, I think this is wrong. I think what we want to do is go up here and say, move this to the top. Yeah, we'll move this up here, and then we're going to say GL color attachment 1. Actually, well, I don't know. We'll do GL none because we're just drawing to this one. So we're just drawing to 0 and 3 in the first pass, right? So that is, if we look, 0, well, actually, no, this is the opaque. So 0 and 3. Then we want to draw to 1, 2, and 3. So let's do that for the transparent. So now we're setting up for the transparent pass. Okay, and let's also just change this to, this is the opaque. Okay, and then we'll go down here. This is transparent. And we want to draw to, this is not happy. We will just say, well, can I just do like star? No, I can't. Okay, we'll just say like that equals GL none. Get rid of that. And then we want to say draw buffers 1 equals GL color attachment 1. Draw buffers 2 equals GL color attachment 2. And then 3. I'll fix that typo in a minute. 3. Okay. So that's good. And that's what we want it to be. 1, 2, and 3. And then we get to composite, and composite is just 0. So we do our transparent pass, which is there. Then we bind our composite shader, and let's also do this. Set up composite. That should just be here. And these should all be none because we're not drawing to those. Technically 3 should be active, but it's not. So I'm just going to say none here as well. I think it should be active, but I'm not sure. Okay, let's try this, see what happens. Kind of like Camtasia. It is sort of like Camtasia, I guess. Oh, hey, look at that. We've got the object showing up now too. Sweet, okay. And if we change our 3D camera's view, is it going to change that? So, no. No. Well, actually, this might be because we're doing, okay, wait, yeah. So if we look at here, we don't see anything. Oh, wait, there we go. Okay, here we go. So this is the camera, and we're modifying it, and now we're kind of seeing stuff. And if we rotate, we can see we're rotating the camera space. And if I move forward and back, yeah, we can kind of see this a little better. Okay, this is a start. I'm okay with this. And if we do the create animation, okay, we're not seeing it create properly. So I'm wondering what's going on there. This is a start though. I'm okay with this. I didn't expect to get this far, honestly. I wonder why it's not creating it properly though. So what should happen, actually, I think I might know what's going on there. Let's check it out. Yeah, okay, wait, there was a bunch of warnings. I should have looked at those real quickly. Okay. Let's go back into here and see if those warnings pop up again. If we go into here. Yeah, okay, cool. So we got corrupted path data for this, failed to end path. So that's what's going on there. Why is it corrupted though? Let's see about that. So if we go into, I shouldn't have gotten rid of that. Corrupted path data. Let's see if we can find that. Okay. So we're getting this here. Interesting. Let's put a breakpoint here and see if we can find out what's going on. We're getting closer. Okay, so if we go back into here, we do hit this. It says path. Oh, actually, I think I might know exactly where this is coming from too. Possibly. I could be completely wrong. Let's look at our call stack. We are coming from here. No? Okay, so this is a square. This should be fine then. Okay, that is interesting. If we go back into here, we get to render outline. Actually, let's take a look at this real quickly. So we get square. What does our path look like? Okay, so we've got SVG object. One path, and that path has... it looks like this stuff is all good. I'm trying to see where the path itself is. Oh yeah, right here. Okay, yeah, and it says we have 4 curves in the path, which is right, because we have 4 lines for a square. Yeah, and that all looks correct. So why is it not happy then? So we give it this parent, then we hop into here. Okay. So we render outline 2D. The SVG object, if we take a look at this again, it looked correct. Yeah, we have 1 path. That path has 4 curves. That's fine. Cool. Yeah, 4 curves. So we go through here. We should draw it all. Okay, so we should draw it all, and then once we get to this point, we said we drew 2.09 out of 2.04. Okay, so that sounds right. That's interesting. The context. What does the context say, though? It says that we have 0 curves. That's interesting. Why is that happening? So it looks like everything went all right, but for some reason we didn't actually draw anything. Which is just really weird. Okay, if we go back into here though. Yeah, that's just really weird. We should be fine then. Especially, like, the thing that confuses me the most about this is we have the squares there. So clearly it's drawing it fine. Like, it's caching it and everything. This is so weird. But for some reason, it's not actually closing the path correctly. Yeah. Let's go ahead. Let's see if this fixes it, maybe. I don't think it will, but try something, I guess. If we change that. It doesn't look like it's going continuously, which is also interesting. Yeah, I have no idea what's going on. So we got face 0. It's doing it for a lot of things too. Oh, I wonder if this is part of the bigger problem that happened, because it's also doing it for the letters too. Weird. Okay, anyways. Let's just ignore that for now, which we probably shouldn't. But I think the reason we're not seeing those lines show up is because if we look at what's happening, it's not using the proper transformation matrix. I think that's what's happening. Possibly. So if we go back all the way up here, what do? So we have our parent, we have our object. And we should push a transformation matrix at some point.
Yeah, okay, so we use the parent global transform, and all that does is somewhere in here, that context. Okay, yeah, so basically all that does is we set the transform to that transform, and then what we do is we translate all of our vertices there. So that should draw it in 3D space too. Let's open up RenderDoc. This is, I'm doing this wrong. Let's open this up, see what vertex data we're getting, and see if it looks correct. So if we go back here, we go here, when we hit F12, let's see what happens. So if we go main frame buffer pass, okay, it looks like it's drawing them as 2D elements, which might be the problem here. Okay, so we got that. Okay, that's interesting. What is this? I think that might be our vertices. And they're in the wrong place. Well, actually, wait, I'm looking at the wrong pass too, because this is for the editor frame buffer. Wait a second, let's see. We actually want to take a look at this one. Okay, there we go. Okay, yeah, wait, I might have just missed this. So it is drawing lines. Those just are drawn in the 2D pass when they should be drawn in the 3D pass. Okay, I think I see what's going on now. So basically, we have a 3D object. These all get drawn. Then when we end the path, what we do is we draw it using this stuff. Yep, and then here's where the problem is. Okay. We're drawing a multicolored try, but we should be drawing a 3D multicolored try. I think is the ultimate problem here. Do we even have that? I don't think we do. Do we have like draw 3D something? We had draw textured quad. Okay. This is the problem, I think. And can we even check in that too? What do we have something here? We get the object ID, close path, and we get the path. Can we see if this object is 3D? That's what we essentially need to do. So we'll say bool is 3D equals false. And then we'll say if, well, actually, we'll just do this. Anim const. No, we cannot do this. Okay, never mind. End path. Where is this called from? This is called from SVG, right? So we have begin path here, and then we call end path down here. Yes, okay. And what we can do is we can say parent is 3D. Parent, why are you not giving me IntelliSense? Is 3D. No. This says it's const. So what? Too many arguments. Oh, okay. So let's just change this to take in an is 3D thing now. And I think this will ultimately fix it. Let's see what happens. Okay, so when we end a path, we're going to also pass in bool is 3D equals false. If we go back in here, this should be happy now. Okay, cool. So that is, let's just make sure we also pass it here. Okay, so we pass it there. Now when we go to render it, we have it here. Bool is 3D. Okay, so now when we go down to here, we'll say if not is 3D. And let's just do this as a very simple test. If we do this now, we shouldn't see those weird lines, is what I'm guessing. And if we don't see those weird lines, then we can add a draw multicolored 3D try here, and that should fix everything. Hopefully, we'll see. And the reason we separate 3D and 2D objects is just because when we actually draw them, we need to do order independent transparency passes on the 3D objects to make sure everything gets blended appropriately. So yeah, maybe there's a better way to do all this stuff. I don't know, but this is, I'm guessing, the easiest thing. So I don't see extra lines here. Let's just make sure render doc shows the same thing. If we go back into here, launch, no. And we hit F12, we've now captured a frame. Let's check it, make sure there is no lines. And we shouldn't see that 72 call at the end. Okay, cool. So we don't see a draw call with 72 elements, which tells me we're not actually drawing that 3D line, which is good. Actually, let's not close that out quite yet. So now we want to say else if we have 3D. We want to do like draw multicolored, try 3D. And let's go into render.h. We will add that up here. And we'll go down here. This is not implemented. Maybe I'll implement it eventually. Okay, right here. So we'll add this. And we may as well, since we're doing this, add a draw try to filled try. Because I might actually use that as well. I don't know. Okay, anyways, though, let's go. We've got that. Let's go into render and see draw textured. And this should be happy now, but it's not because we didn't call these 3D. Okay, so we've got that. Oh, and then this is another problem. Uh-oh. We need vector 3s here. This is kind of a problem. Okay, this isn't something I thought of. So P2, yeah, we're good there. Okay, we'll get to this when we get to it. For now, let's just go to draw textured quad 3D. And let's just do this for now. Okay, we will get to the other stuff eventually. And let's actually go to draw filled try. Okay, we'll copy that, and then we're just gonna kind of do the same thing. So here we go. Whoops. We'll say 3D. And then let's go back to filled try. We'll grab that one. And we'll do the same thing here, except this will be 3D. Now we need to go up to the draw list 3D and add these functions, and we should almost be there. So 3D. So now we want basically the same things that we had here. These things. Okay, let's add that. And we can add them right here, and it's literally going to be the exact same except 3s. Okay, so 3, 3, 3, and 3. And let's go to add textured quad 3D, which is right here, and we'll go ahead and add these below it. And I think I have some default arguments I'm gonna have to remove in a minute because we're gonna have errors otherwise, but we'll get around to that. So do that, add colored try, let's look for that. Okay, and then let's copy this because we're gonna do something very similar. This is another thing I should really fix is all these duplications, but I will get to that eventually. Add colored try, let's go find this one. Okay, and then let's go that. Okay, so let's just change this to 3D. And I'm actually going to copy this one because this is what we need, which is more accurate. Okay, so this checks if we need to switch to a new batch. We don't care about textures. Do we care about transparency? Okay, so if the color.alpha A is less than 255. I guess we'll do this. I might not want to do this though, and actually want to do 1.0. Might not want to do that. To do, might not want to do this because OIT makes some stuff look kind of weird. So we'll check that out in a minute. How's it going, Voxriffs? Good to see you. So if we get to here, texture ID, what is the texture ID? Null texture ID or handle. Okay, we'll do that. Is transparent equals, oh, okay, wait, actually. So let's go back a few steps. Actually go forwards a few steps because I still want to do this thing. So let's copy that, go back. Okay, so that's good. And then we're gonna do this. We'll say bool is transparent equals color.a is less than 1. Okay, and then we might not want to do this. But then this we're gonna say null texture handle. Okay, cool. So then this is gonna be a draw command 3D. We just copy this, make sure we do the same way. Okay, and then I want to make sure this is correct too. Okay, so we'll do that, and then we can do this. Oh, this should just be element count. Okay, so we got that. Why do I have that defined twice? I don't know. That is kind of interesting. Okay, we just do that. That looks correct. Okay, so then we change this to a 3D vertex. We're good. Vert dot color normal position texture chords. Okay, we will have to add normals at some point too. And then a number of vertices, which I don't store. Interesting. What do I do up here? Oh, because it's just embedded in that. Okay, yeah, that makes sense. Okay, anyway, so we've got that. The next one should be way easier than that all was. So if we just do this, only thing that changes here is this is going to be, and we want to do like C1 or C2.a is less than 1 or C3.a is less than 1. Or I guess C0. And we'll just go ahead and move that to be the first one. Okay, so then the only thing that changes, we do C0, C1, and C2. No, that was fine. We want to do vert.color equals C1, vert.color equals C2. Okay, so now we can add 3D vertices. Now if we go back up to here, there was a problem. Problem is these are vector 2s, which is a problem because we need to transform them in 3D space. So when we do this, is there, this isn't good. Actually, no, this might be fine. Wait a second. This might be fine. We do want the path to be in 2D space, okay? So we do the path in 2D space. And essentially what we want to happen is once we finish the path in 2D space, we want to use whatever transformation matrix and transform the entire path according to that. Yeah. I think that makes sense. Does that make sense? I think it does. No, we do need to do it. Well, yeah, I think we want to do it here. Instead of as we're drawing it, this is where it makes sense to transform the vertices. Yeah. Okay, so we'll have to change up a couple things, but it shouldn't change the overall result. So basically, instead of doing, so this is begin path, right? So instead of doing this where we translate them, we are just going to store, yeah. So we have the transform. Ooh, okay, this is bad too though. Oh man, this is a little bit harder than I was thinking. Girlfriend, how's it going? And Essie Woods, did my message about you saying interesting not go through, Gabe? I don't think so. Oh wait, okay, I see it now. Sorry, I haven't checked chat in a while, Essie Woods, which is why I didn't notice that. But when you keep saying interesting, you remind me of a flat earther. Uh-oh, he was on a Netflix documentary. I hope I'm not reminding. I believe the Earth is round, so, or spherical. I don't know. Round, spherical. It's the same, right? It's not flat though. I'll say that. Okay. I'm trying to think of what the best way. So do we allow you to push extra transformations for a path? No. I'm going to say no. So originally the way I had it was you could push a transform when you start drawing a path. And just for context, right? A path is this. This is a path. And the way I had it was you could push a transform when you start it, and then say you were drawing this vertex, you could push a new transform. That's not good. What we want to do is we want you push a transform. That transform applies to the entire path once. I think that's what we want to do. So that way we can do all of this in local space. So we will say context transform equals that. We will not translate anything. Let's just comment it out for now. We will not translate anything. Then this will just be start. Okay, yeah. And we'll do that. Well, yeah, we can do that. So we will not translate anything. Then when we close the path, when we end it here, we do our final transformations on our vertices in 2D local space. Then right before we draw, we say, let's transform them according to our context transform. So then we say this is V1 translated V1. And this will take in vertex. And we'll do that. Vertex.x and y. Or I guess vertex dot. And we'll have to translate all of these. So this is going to be a little bit of a pain. Yeah. So this is going to be a little bit of a pain, but it's got to be done no matter what. So let's do this. Let's create a helper method actually, because this is kind of annoying. So we will say, what exactly do we need? We need 3 vertices, I think, right? Front P1, front P2, back P1. Okay, so we've got those. And those come from this. And let's just do this. We'll say const, or not const, we'll say vec3, 3 vertices, transform verts, and we'll make this static. And we will do const this v. That will just be v. So we basically just want to return an array of 3 vec3s, and I don't think we can do that, can we? Yeah, it's not happy about that. If I change this, yeah, it's happy. I guess we could like do stood array. I might do that just because I don't want to like, this should just return 3 things. And if we check V, we have back P1, back P2, front P1, front P2. Okay, then we need to know which ones too. Oh, this is annoying. Oh man, this is why this code is just very annoying. Because it's so similar, but it's different enough where I can't really do this stuff. So instead, let's do this. This is probably simpler. We'll have vec3. Okay, this will say transform vert, okay, and then we'll pass it a vec2 vert, and we'll give it a const glm map4 transform. This is the best way to do this. And then we will just do this. Okay, we will do this. Whoops. So we do that, translated equals that, vert, okay, we do that, we translate it, so we say that is equal to transform times translated, okay, and then we return vec3 translated dot x y z, and then we're gonna have 2 because we want one for vec3 and we want one for vec2 where we don't care about that. So we will do that. Actually, we don't need to do that because we just return that. Cool. So vec2, transform vert vec2 vec3. Okay. Okay. That's fine. We can do this. So we've got this. And then what we're going to do is we're going to say split this stuff up. Okay. Same thing here. We'll just make it a little bit nicer. And this will be transform vert vec2. Okay, and we can actually just copy that twice. And we're gonna give it context transform. Context transform. All right, so that's that. And then same thing here. Transform vert vec2 context transform. Okay. By the way, Visual Studio updated their cursor, multi-cursor movement hotkeys, and it is so nice. It used to be pretty bad, but they've made it much nicer. We're missing context. Is context called something else? It's called path. Okay. So if we just do that, almost good. This should be vec2. Okay, so we've got that. Now for 3D verts. Okay, we are so close. And this should fix everything. And it should just work. First try, right? That's what I'm going for. So we will see. We got that. That. Okay. And then we want to say transform vert vec3. Go there. Path transform. Right, we got that. And same thing here. Transform vert vec3. And this will be path transform. And we're good. Now we do have one last thing. So we fixed begin path, right? We took it out of here, but there's other things too that we have to fix. So we've got that end path. And then after we end path, there's a bunch of extra things that we'll fix very quickly. We can skip that. Okay, line 2. So yeah, we'll just have to fix this too. Simple. Yeah, so we'll just do this for now, and then we can fix that later. Why do we have apply transform though? That's interesting. Oh, I do remember why we have that now, actually. So. Uh-oh, okay, so we might have to look into this a little bit more, but we're very close. Okay, so quad 2, yeah. The reason we have that is why? Because we're doing this. But if we get rid of that, this should be, yeah, we get rid of this. We don't need any of this now. Okay, we're not transforming anything. We just have P1, P2. So this should be this. Actually, we can just do this. Yeah. And then we'll just do comment that out for now. We're going to remove all this, but first I just want to make sure it works. Do this. This will just be P1 and P2. No more transformations, okay? And we go through here. This shouldn't even matter anymore at this point, which is nice. We'll leave it in here for now, but it shouldn't matter. We can remove that once we verify all this works. And then cubic 2, same thing. We don't care about this stuff because we're doing it later now. And we don't care about this. We can say P1, P2, and P3. Okay. Okay. Yeah. And that should just work. Let's try it. Let's see what happens. That was a lot of stuff. I have no idea what's going to go on. See what's interesting. Voxriffs, there's nothing to believe in that one. Okay, that's good. And SE Woods, no worries. Just thought the message didn't go through because the Earth was a no word. Yeah. Twitch doesn't want you talking about flat Earth. They're pretty strict on that, I think. I'm just kidding. I don't know. We have these. We can get rid of that. Just default arguments. Get rid of that. Should be good. And SE Woods, if someone with your brain size and problem solving skills would have come to that conclusion, I would have been surprised. Unfortunately, brain size is average. It's just persistence is also average. I just spend more time than I should on this stuff. What is wrong here? Why is this not happy? This is a UNT 64. Ooh, okay. Let's change this. That's what it should be. Let's also just make sure this doesn't break other stuff. Okay. This is all 2D stuff. I want to check the 3D stuff. Nope. Okay. Okay, this is still 2D. There we go. Okay, 3D stuff. Here we go. So we have a texture ID stack too. So I'm also, going to want to go here, change this to that. Ultimately, it really doesn't matter what I'm doing here, but I do want it all to be type safe as much as possible until we get to the final stage, which is downcasting. I should probably keep everything UNT32. Don't know. Okay. So then this gets upcast, so that's no longer a problem. This should be fine. As should this. And then for this guy, a couple things. What do I do here for untextured objects? I'm wondering that now. What is going on here? Yeah, I'm not quite sure how this is all working out now. Interesting. Yeah, weird. I'm not sure what I do for untextured objects, how this has been working. Okay. We'll just go with it though. I'm kind of concerned because first of all, this expects a UNT32. Okay. Let's go back. I'm going to change this again, actually. Okay. And then let's go back to this warning. And let's actually just change this to whatever this was doing. Wait, okay, yeah. So add textured quad 3D. Ah, okay. So I didn't have any untextured 3D stuff, did I? Wait, no, we had add cube filled. What did this do? Oh, and then we just set the texture chords to 0, 0. Did we ever set a texture ID though? Is what I'm wondering. No. Interesting. Oh, and I keep saying interesting. I see what you mean now, SEOs. I didn't realize I was even saying that. Why? Okay, we'll copy this. So for untextured objects, we're setting the texture coordinates to 0, 0, so we weren't really sampling anything. But that feels wrong to me, so we'll put a to do in here to like not do this. So wait a second. Let's go back up there for a second. Yeah, there's lots of stuff wrong in this. Okay. Vertices. Where are we getting that from? Oh, so we're not even adding a new draw call on here. Okay, so this is just kind of wrong. Yeah, I'm going to have to fix this stuff up. For now, though, I'm going to set that to 0. And then we're going to say vert dot texture chords equals 0, 0. And we're going to get rid of this. And we'll just see what happens. And then we'll put a to do. This should be set to null texture handle or something similar. And we should render no texture with a proper shader. Yeah, we'll do this. Okay, so that should get rid of the warning for now. This is why you turn warnings on, though, so that you can find this kind of stuff. One more warning, because I think I have it twice. No, it's just saying that this is not being used, is it? It's not. We may add that later, though, so I'll keep it there for now. Yeah, SE Woods, I noticed you said it more than usual, but that's all good. Just found it interesting. Yeah. Set that to 0. Let's save that. Okay, we're not using that one either. Almost there. Okay, there we go. So, are we going to get lines now, at the very least? So if we switch here, okay, we're getting triangles. We're getting triangles. They don't look right, but we're at least getting triangles. You know, that's good. So, lots of stuff is wrong. That's good. One thing I'm noticing is the stroke width on these guys seems to have gotten bigger for some reason. Oh, and it's because of the scale, isn't it? Ooh. It is because of the scale. We want to make sure not to scale vertices. Let's go back to end path, because that's important. So, ooh, do we want to scale though? I don't know. This is an interesting question. So, these objects, okay, so this square, right, has a stroke width of 0, but it gets set to something, right? It gets set to like 0.05, right? And so now you can see it's that thick. If we click on this one, this guy's stroke width, if we go to the root object, is 0. Let's do 0.05, okay? They're different widths, but the reason for that is if we look at his scale, it's 1. His scale is 0.15, 0.133, which also makes, or actually if we go to the root, 30, 30. Okay. So this guy is 30 times scaled up from this, and you can see that in the stroke width. Now the question is, does stroke width stay constant, or do we scale it with the object scale? I don't know. I'm going to say it should stay constant for now because that's how I've kind of been interpreting it, but I don't know if that is proper because it kind of sounds like it isn't. But for now, what we'll do is we'll just say strip the scale from this, right? So let's do glmmat for unscaled matrix equals, and we've got path transform, and we want to strip the scale from this. So if we do like an unproject, this feels very wrong to me. Where does the scale go? Let's go learn OpenGL matrix transformations, because he has a very nice diagram in here that I refer to when I'm trying to fix this stuff. Somewhere down here. Okay, yeah, so this is the rotation. And does he have a diagram for the final matrices? I think he does, but I can't remember where it is. Okay, here we go. So translation goes in the column, but GLM is inverted, so this is actually the bottom row. So scale goes along the diagonal. Now, if we scale and we rotate, though, that's going to mess with stuff. So we can't just take it out. Yeah, so translation's easy to extract, but scale is a little bit different because of this. So we will have to unproject, which is kind of annoying, but let's just do that outside of this so that we're at least not unprojecting for every single vertice. Unproject. Or I guess GLM extract. Oh, cool. Extract scale. Wait, do we have that? We have extract Euler angle. Extract real component. Scale. Comp scale. Let's see. GLM. Extract scale from transformation matrix. Oh, okay. So decompose, I think is what it's called. Can we just get the scale though is what I'm wondering, because that would be nice, but I don't think we can. So we need decompose. We give it our model matrix, which is this guy. We give it a scale. So then we're going to say, okay, scale, orientation, and then we want our translation. We want our skew and our perspective. Okay. So let's go. We will take this. This is going to be path transform. And then we will say GLM vec3 scale translation GLM vec3 orientation. Is that a vec3 or is that a quad? Okay, cool. So we can just do that. GLM vec4 skew. And then perspective, is that also a vec4? Okay. That's cool. How do we go back again is what I'm wondering too. Decompose and then compose back again. That's what I want to know. Okay. Yeah, this is kind of annoying too. Wait, no. Okay, I don't use skew or perspective, so we don't actually have to worry about that stuff. If I just do this, what is wrong with this though? I think this does need to be a quaternion. Nope, still not happy. Okay, what's wrong with this? Vec3, quaternion, vec3, no instance decompose matches. Okay, so we need mat4, vec3, quaternion, vec3, vec4, vec4. Or no, is this what we need? So mat4, vec3, quaternion. Oh, translation is vec3, skew is vec3, perspective. Okay, so skew. Okay, there we go. Cool. So we do this, right? Mat4 unscaled matrix equals that. And then we'll say unscaled matrix or GLM translate. We'll do translate then. Let me just go into here because this is going to be easier. Actually, wait a second. Is it in here? CMath. Calculate, transform. Okay, yeah, this is what I want. Okay, cool. That. Sweet. So let's just go here. We will go back into here. This equals CMath, calculate, transform. Euler angles. Ah, dang it. We don't have Euler angles though. Can I change this to Vec3? Orientation. Will it work? Don't think so. No, it's not going to work. Okay, and I turned insert on. Turn that off. Okay, so we want Euler angles. We'll get those in a second. Okay, and then we want scale, which is, we're going to hard code that as 1. And then position, which is translation. Okay, so we've got that. And let's just do Vec3. Or wait, I think I have... something. No. Okay, I thought I had something to help out with this too, but I don't. So let's do translation, translation, translation. Okay. And let's just kind of make this nicer. And then we need to get Euler angles, which I always hate doing because it always messes up somehow, but I think we just do Euler angles from a quaternion. Yeah. Okay, cool. So we just do that and we give it that. GLM Vec3 Euler angles equals that. And then we can just do that. X, Y, Z. Okay. Okay. Cool. So this should fix that problem. Let's just make sure this works. So then if we use this instead of this, we should be good. Let's just fix this stuff. And it shouldn't scale anymore. It should be whatever the appropriate scale actually is. Okay, cool. Let's make sure it works now, hopefully. And I think that worked. Almost. Okay. Oh, man. Almost. Now we have a problem. And the problem is this is not scaled out. So we basically just want to scale it, but we don't want to scale the width, that stroke width. We just want to scale the positions and stuff. Oh, man, this is very annoying. So now I'm thinking we actually have to do this earlier in the stack, which is like here. But we can't because of this normalizing stuff and everything. This is all supposed to happen on a 2D plane. Okay, you know what? We're going to come back to this. To do uneven, stroke width scales with the object, and it probably shouldn't. Okay. I will come back to that. Let's just go replace all these with the appropriate thing. I wanted to search in here. Visual Studio. Thank you. Okay. So replace that with this. Okay. So let's go back to it. We're just going to deal with it for now. And let's see what the other problems are and see if we can fix those. Yeah, so this is just going to scale up for now. We'll just have to deal with it. Now, the biggest problem, though, is what is happening here? Those 3D ones are not correct at all. And it's kind of hard to see everything. Let's see if we can change the 3D camera's view a little bit. Let's rotate maybe down. Yeah. That almost looks right. Those pieces. I wonder if we're just kind of getting an off by one error somewhere. So if we look at this again. Yeah, I wonder if it's this thing. I bet you this is probably wrong. Yes, this is completely wrong. Because we're drawing triangles now. How did we do this in the 2D stuff? Because that's wrong. Let's go to, whoops. Let's go find where we do this 2D. Back. Okay, so, that's simple enough. Well, let's just do this then. And let's go to the next one. Change this to that. Okay. And I think we have one more that we're gonna have to fix. That's multicolored, and this one as well. This is colored, yeah. Okay, let's see what happens. Fingers crossed, this fixes everything. We're done. And we have 3D stuff working, kind of, sort of. We'll fix the cube offsets, rotations, and stuff, but yeah. So, oh no, it's still not working. I feel like we're closer though. I'm not quite sure. There's so much stuff going on. I need to just, let's move this to there so that we get all of that out of the way for now. Let's just put it up here. Okay. Well, we'll put it up there. Okay, there we go. So now we just got the 3D stuff that we can focus on. Let's move that, rotate, rotate. Okay. So that does not look right at all. And I want to say it's because of this element counter thing. Wait, yeah, it is because of this. Wait a second. This should be vertices dot size. Is what this should be. I'm 99% sure, right? And technically this is the triangle. Because what are we doing? We're setting up the elements for this next triangle. We should be starting from here. Don't know why I didn't have it that way before. Let's try this. See what happens. One of these things is going to work. And then we'll be good. Okay, so we've got that. Let's see what happens here. Oh, wait, no. And we can't do that because, yeah, never mind. That's not going to work. Yeah, that's not going to work. And the reason it's not going to work, okay, now I do remember, is because the vertices is one like big global thing of vertices for all draw commands, and then each draw command kind of starts differently. Oh, and I think I remember now why we had the index offset and the vertex offset. Oh, okay, so wait, if we just do this minus command dot vertex offset, that's what we're looking for. I want to say. Do the same thing here. Try one more time. See what happens. And eventually we'll make it. Yeah, no, still not working. Okay, you know what? Let's just reorient these cubes a little bit, and then we'll say we have a 3D cube, and that's kind of done. You know, we've done something that kind of works. Okay, so we have minus half length. That I think these rotations are just mixed up a little bit. I'm guessing if we do something like that and that, and then we do this. Let's see what happens there. I'm guessing. I think that it's probably that, and that's why they're rotated wrong. It's because I have some sort of coordinate axes messed up or something like that. And let's just go into here, change that. Didn't quite fix it, but it gave us something different at least, right? Let's see if we rotate around this, what's happening here. No idea what's happening here. Let's open up RenderDoc, see what's happening. Launch this. F12. And let's just see what we got in here for this guy right there. Okay. Yeah, they're still messed up. All right, I think I'm going to end the stream right around here. We got close, okay? And I'll be able to finish this up in my spare time, but we have 3D stuff at least. This was going to be the hardest part anyways, was just getting the 3D stuff up there again and getting the cameras all set up and everything. But we do have a way to do this, so I'm pretty happy with that. I've just got to reorient it so that it's actually drawing them in the correct place and then fix up the drawing of the lines, and then we should be good. And then I've got to fix this too now, but it is what it is. Pretty happy with where we're at. And yeah, that's about it. So if you guys are interested in kind of like all the other stuff that was added and you joined the stream a little bit later, you can go back to the beginning of the stream and kind of watch the first 15 minutes or so. And I go over all the new features and what's been added and stuff. Yep. Anyways, thank you everybody for watching, and I'll see you next week or the week after. So.